Break down. So let's start with what break down means, because it has a few very common uses. First, when we say break down for machines or systems, we mean they stop working. Usually it happens suddenly. For example, my car broke down on the way to work. The elevator broke down this morning. The computer system broke down during the meeting. Now, another very common meaning of break down is emotional. When we say someone breaks down, it means they lose control of their emotions. For example, she broke down and started crying. He broke down after hearing the bad news. I almost broke down from stress. There's one more meaning you hear a lot. We also use break down when we talk about analyzing or dividing something into smaller parts, so it's easier to understand. For example, let's break down the problems step by step. The teacher broke down the lesson clearly. Can you break down the costs for me? So the main idea is simple. With all these meanings, break down is about something stopping, falling apart, or being separated into simpler pieces. Now, let's quickly look at what break down means in other languages. In Spanish, it's descomponerse, venirse abajo, or analizar. In French, tomber en panne, s'effondrer, or décomposer. In Portuguese, quebrar, desmoronar, or analizar. In Italian, rompersi, crollare, or analizzare. In German, kaputtgehen, zusammenbrechen, or zerlegen. In Japanese, gushao suru, kuzureru, or bunkai suru. And in Chinese, chukujang, bunkei, or bunkai. So when do people usually use break down? People use break down when a machine or a vehicle stops working. They use it when someone feels overwhelmed and becomes very emotional. They also use it when they want to explain or analyze something clearly. You'll hear it a lot with stress, pressure, problems, and explanations. Let's quickly review with a few clear examples. My phone broke down right before the call. He broke down when he heard the results. Let's break down the report together. The bus broke down in the middle of the road. She broke down the instructions for the team. Now, here's how the grammar works. Break down can be separable or inseparable, depending on how we use it. When we talk about machines stopping or emotions, breakdown is usually inseparable. For example, the car broke down. She broke down crying. In these cases, there's no direct object. But when we mean analyze or explain, breakdown is separable. You can say, let's break down the problem. Let's break the problem down. With pronouns, this part is important. The pronoun goes in the middle. So we say, break it down, not break down it. So, the usual patterns you'll hear are break down plus an object, or break plus an object plus down. Now it's time to practice. First, you'll listen to a short text from everyday life. After that, you'll hear another text in a professional or office setting. Are you ready? Let's start. This morning started like any other. I woke up early, made some coffee, and got ready to leave the house. Everything felt normal until my car suddenly broke down right outside my building. I tried starting it again, but it just wouldn't work. When things break down like that, you feel stuck, especially when you're already running late. I called my sister to let her know I might be late for breakfast. While I was waiting for help, I could feel my stress slowly building up. After a few minutes, I almost broke down. It wasn't anything dramatic, but that feeling of being overwhelmed was there. Some days, it doesn't take much for emotions to break down. Once the tow truck arrived, I decided to walk to a nearby cafe. I sat there, took a deep breath, and tried to calm myself down. I pulled out my notebook and started to break down my day. I looked at what really needed to be done and what could wait. When you break down your plans, things suddenly feel more manageable. Later, at home, my mom called to check on me. I told her about the car and how everything seemed to break down at once. She laughed and said it happens to everyone. That helped more than she probably realized. In the afternoon, I tried fixing a small shelf in my room. Halfway through, one of the tools broke down, which made me laugh instead of getting angry. Earlier, that might have made me break down again, but this time I stayed calm. By the evening, I sat with my family for dinner. We talked about our day, and I broke down the whole story for them, step by step. Talking it out helped a lot. Sometimes things break down around you, and sometimes you break down inside. But once you slow down and break down the situation, it feels easier to move forward. Great, that was the first text. How many times did you hear the phrasal verb of the day? Now, let's move on to the second text. The day started with a team meeting that was supposed to be quick. 10 minutes in, the video platform suddenly broke down, and no one could hear each other. We waited, tried reconnecting, and laughed it off, but it was a reminder of how fast things can break down at work. Once we finally got back online, our manager suggested we slow down and break down the project timeline. The deadline felt heavy, and everyone had different concerns. As we talked, it became clear that the plan needed structure. When you break down a big task into smaller steps, it feels less overwhelming. Later that morning, I was answering emails when my computer broke down again. For a moment, I felt myself starting to break down, too. Between the meeting issues and the pressure to deliver results, it was one of those days where everything seemed ready to fall apart. I took a short break, grabbed some water, and reminded myself to breathe. In the afternoon, we met with another department to review costs. My colleague calmly broke down the numbers so everyone could follow. Watching him break down the data so clearly helped the conversation stay focused. Instead of arguing, we worked together to adjust the plan. Toward the end of the day, a junior teammate came to my desk looking stressed. She said she felt like she was about to break down because she didn't understand part of the assignment. We sat together, and I helped her break down the task step by step. You could see the relief on her face once things made sense. Before leaving, I sent a short update to the team. I broke down what we had accomplished and what was still pending. Days like this remind me that systems may break down, plans may break down, and people may almost break down. But when you take time to break down the work and support each other, progress still happens. Great, that was the second text, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for following this channel. We'll see you next time. Bye!